Oh yes, we finally have more wagons for sale here in the United States. Thank you so much, Mercedes, for bringing the E-Class wagon and also this one, the E450 all-terrain. You can see that it's lifted just a little bit. We also have black plastic cladding going around the wheel arches. This is equipped right now with the winter package with the winter tires, so we have 19 inches instead of the beautiful 20s that come with the summer tires. I like the spec here. It feels like an old school 80s Mercedes with the brown exterior. You have the brown interior as well, and the seats also remind me of the design of old vintage like 80s Mercedes or something like that. So we're gonna have a look at this design from a front side, the beautiful long roof, rear and the interior, and then of course we're gonna take this for a drive. Now, before we go in and talk about this design, and I am very excited to see that we do get more wagons here in the United States, let's have a look at what's hiding under the hood of the 2024 Mercedes E450 all-terrain in this Sonoran brown metallic with the Tonka brown interior. I think that's a pretty cool combo. It looks like pretty old school to me when you look at this design, but look at how the metallic is showing nicely in the sunshine. So under the hood, we do have a 3-liter turbo inline 6 with a 48-volt hybrid system, putting out 375 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque, connected to Mercedes' ancient 9-speed automatic, very smooth automatic. And we also have all-wheel drive, of course, with the 4MATIC. You have 0 to 60 in about 4.6 seconds. So this is a quick little wagon. Top speed 155 miles per hour. Fuel economy goes in at 22 city, 31 highway, and the price for this one, as this one is tested, comes in at $84,660. So if you're in the market for, if it was any other car than a Mercedes, because I love the GLE so much, the SUV, one of the best looking SUVs out there. But if you are in the market for a GLE, for example, you might want to consider this one and just give it some support for what Mercedes is doing, bringing the wagons here to the United States, and just buy this one instead. It gets a lot more sporty driving, characteristics compared to a GLE. Of course, this sitting much lower. Yes, this is an all-terrain, but that doesn't mean that this is a proper terrain vehicle. We're gonna talk more about that in a second when we look at the side views. So let's close this back down. Here's the engine one more time, inline 6, beautiful. Close it and have a look at the styling that we have here for the new E-Class. So when this first came out, I thought the design looked very funky, because specifically if you look at the key features, for example, the headlights with the daytime run lights now having these two small little curvatures in the lower section of the headlights, it looks pretty good. I mean, it's looking at it right now in person, it looks a lot better than when I first saw it. I actually made a redesign of this because I thought this wave that we have going here, you can see the surf wave that just goes on here. I wanted to have this be a little bit more straight, this being an E-Class, not so much styling in this like we have in the C-Class, for example. And we have the big grille in the middle. We have sort of the EQ layout if you look at the connection from the grille into the headlights here, with this plastic piece that is sort of brought over from the EQ lineup. A lot of chrome here in the middle as well in the grille, a lot of small little star patterns. You have a front mounted camera here. Radar is located behind this absolutely massive Mercedes logo. I'm not sure if, since this being the all-terrain, I'm not sure, having a bunch of chrome in the front end, if that actually makes sense, or if you want to have that be blacked out. I'm not sure, but since it is a Mercedes, having a splash of chrome maybe just works. I don't know. We have these covered up pieces here. I wish this was open. You have the parking sensors integrated in each side as well. Do we have skid plates under here? Yes, sort of. Well, Mercedes doesn't really call it skid plates, but you do have some protection in the front end and also in the rear for, I do believe, the fuel tank is back there. This is not a car that you really want to take on some rugged trails, because if you come around to the side view here, I love the design of the side view. Very stylized design. Beautiful shoulder line here as well. You can see the lower section, the line there, more chrome in the very low section. And as I said in the intro, this is equipped right now with the 19-inch winter tires, wheels and tires. Normally, you would get the 20s here, but these are 255 R19s. I do think it still looks very good for winter tires. It looks pretty good with the 19s. I'm not sure if I would actually step it up to the 20s, because if we want to have an, you know, all-terrain, you might not want to have too big of a wheel and too small of a, you know, sidewall for the tires. So 19s looks pretty good. 255s all around. And have a look at this shoulder line. This is what I love about the new E-Class. Very sharp shoulder line here. You can see the metallic color here as well, how it goes in under the mirror, fades right here in the middle, and then you can see how it comes back right here in the passenger door and all the way into this chrome trim that we have for the taillights. I do like the door handles as well. It's just flush with the bodywork until you want to, of course, open it up. Just to press that button, and this is also illuminated on the back side here, so very easy to see where the door handles are at nighttime, for example, if you have trouble opening your Mercedes E-Class. But overall, I mean, the styling looks pretty cool. I think the ground clearance for this one is about 7 inches or so. It has air suspension, so you can lift it up about an inch extra when you have it in the off-road setting. But as I said, this is not a proper off-roader. For gravel parking lots like this, it's perfect. Over there, go over some rocks, you know, some pebbles or whatever, but taking it properly off-roading, that is not something I would personally do with this one. I would need a lot more ground clearance than this. So you can see how dynamic the roofline is with the Wagon design here. Looking super sleek and super sporty. It just looks really good. This compared to the, I do think we do have the Volvo V90 cross country here. At least we have the V60 cross country, which has a lot more boxy rear end. Also something that I like, but this is the Mercedes style where you have more of a sloping, almost coupe-like roofline, looking beautiful here. And again, this shoulder line is just fantastic, in addition to this lower section line that goes into the bumper and through the axles in the middle. This is, again, having this chrome trim that we have right here in the sides and also in the front. We also have it in the back. I don't think this, even though, yes, it is a Mercedes, but this being the all-terrain, I want to have a little less chrome than what we have here. You also have more chrome going around the windows in the greenhouse right here. And up top, we do have a full panoramic sunroof, in addition to these polished roof rails going across on each side, of course. Now, coming around to the rear end, and yes, 3/4 rear end. I mean, this is a Wagon for sale in the United States. I am gonna say that the 3/4 rear view for the E450 2024 E-Class all-terrain is my favorite view. However, there are a couple of very strange features here when it comes to the graphics. When they updated the E-Class, I thought the previous generation looked spot on, specifically the sedan, just looked beautiful with the taillights. Now we have these star squibbles, or whatever you want to call these, LEDs here. Very thick, they look very juicy here, looks pretty nice. But if you look at the internal pieces of the taillight and compare it to what's going on for the frame of the taillight itself, we still have this wave design here like we have in the front end. These feel like they have zero connection to the actual housing of the taillight itself. And that is why I think it looks pretty weird to have those star patterns in the taillights themselves, because it has nothing to do with the framing of the taillights, meaning the housing for the taillights themselves. Then we have more chrome here coming back, going around the rear end. Also sort of EQ vibes with this very soft organic features for the housing for the taillights. There's no light bar here, as you can see, but we still have a connection with this red plastic piece in the middle. Pretty small Mercedes logo in the middle here. E450 in chrome, of course. 4MATIC, all-wheel drive. This for an $83,000 car. I want to have this hidden under here so we clean up the rear end. All the way down low, you can see that we do have some more chrome going on there. And as I said, we do have protection underneath here. So, they don't want to call it skid plates. I think that is just a liability issue, because they're probably not as, you know, rugged as proper skid plates underneath there, but you do have some protection at least. And also a different bumper here for the all-terrain, not being painted. This is all matte plastic black, which I think suits the all-terrain. That is what you want to have. You have parking sensors integrated here as well. So let's pop up the trunk. This is of course the good thing if you want to go for the wagon. You got a lot more space back here compared to, for example, this sedan. And you also have a lot of netting here to, you know, tie down whatever groceries you're getting, your eggs and your milk and all of that stuff. You can also fold the rear seats by pressing these buttons right here. You can see that it pops down, and then you just have to push it manually or something in the way there. And then you have netting here on the sides and some strap here on this side as well. A lot of space back here, but since we have this more of a coupe roofline, it is going to intrude some on the space, obviously. But I think that's a decent trade-off, because it looks so good having this sloping roofline that we have here. These buttons have always looked to me like some 70s or maybe 70s or 80s buttons, the graphics for these buttons right here. So let's close this back down and let's jump in and have a look at the interior. This one is equipped with the super screen, meaning that we have dual 12.3-inch screens, one for the passenger that I'm not so sure why they had to put it there. It doesn't really make sense to me. Then we have a big 14.4-inch center infotainment screen. So let's jump in here and check this out. Now this to me is more of a grandpa spec for Mercedes. You have the brown exterior, and then you also have the brown, Tonka brown is what they call it, the Tonka brown leather interior. And these handles, they just don't want to pop up sometimes. It's very interesting to see. And the design of the seats themselves, they look very old school to me. This reminds me of the old 80s Mercedes with the styling that we have going on here. Looking at the door panel, typical Mercedes door panel of 2024, 2025, you have the heated and ventilated seats right here. Ventilated seats in Mercedes, they don't really work that well. The heated seats work fantastic though. Three different levels. For all of these, you have the memory settings here for the seats, 3 different levels. Burmester, I think it's a 17-inch speaker sound system. You also have the seat itself almost acting like a speaker. When you're blasting music in here, you can feel it in the seat itself. They call it the 4D sound instead of 3D sound. They just added another dimension to the sound here. Then we have metal here, and this gets very hot when it's warm outside, when this is sitting in the sun. So be careful, but I do like that it's metal steel because it gives a very high quality feel. Automatic up and down for all windows here as well, and some controls for the mirrors here, obviously. More storage at the very bottom with the brown leather inserts with some, I wouldn't call this contrast stitching, it's still gray stitching here. Now, jumping in here, first of all, Mercedes illuminated here, looking very, very nice. So let's jump in and let's fire this car up and let's see what this is all about. Now, the first thing you notice when you jump in here is obviously going to be this super screen setup. That we have 12.3 inches of gauge cluster right there, completely digital, of course, and we also have a completely digital infotainment screen here, 14.4 inches for that one, and then you have the passenger screen over here. The thing about this though is it actually works when you're not sitting in the seats here, but this is sort of mirroring what you have in the center display here. So this is just for the passenger to just have some fun. You can stream some video. I would probably just watch some YouTube videos if I was on a long road trip and I wasn't driving, which is pretty much never, because I always drive. I like to drive long distances. But if you were to be a passenger on a long road trip, you can use all of these apps here and just entertain yourself, I guess, if you don't want to have an iPad, holding an iPad by yourself. It's sort of integrated now in the dash. But it looks to be a one continuous screen, but as you can see, it's 2 separated screens here. Now, looking up top, we have a small little camera here. Pretty creepy, if you ask me. But this one is for, you can have conference calls in your Mercedes. So if you want to take work, if you're a workaholic, you just step out of the office and you feel like you still need to do a lot of work. You need to make a bunch of business calls. You can just do that with this camera and the infotainment screen. So the Zoom call pops up here, and the camera obviously works as a computer camera. Soft touch material all around here. The gauge cluster here is sort of starting to grow on me, or I would say I've gotten used to it by now. It's not really a big deal to just have a static screen like this, because Mercedes actually put some effort into styling, put some styling into the end points and the framing for the screen. And this is typical Mercedes for 2024. You have all these different layouts. You have classic, which is probably the one I prefer. It just looks the cleanest, and then you can control what you want to have in the middle section here as well. You can have the full map. You have wireless Apple CarPlay, Android Auto. You can connect that if you want to do that as well, and we can go and check out some more layouts here. You have this off-road layout specifically for the all-terrain, and this looks pretty cool as well, specifically with the Sahara Desert in the background, and you can see the tilt and the angle of the car, how it's positioned on the ground with a compass in the middle. Looking pretty decent to me. And the range for this was something that was very surprising when I first got it. We're down to 362 miles now. But when you have a full tank in this, it's well over 400, close to 430, 440 miles of range, which is fantastic to see. Now, going over to the center infotainment screen here. First of all, we do have a couple of vents here. Thankfully, Mercedes is not doing some crazy stuff with the vents like BMW is doing. Small little toggles down here, and you need to adjust on and off with a slider button. This is super easy. On and off with these sliders or toggles down here or dials. Now, this infotainment screen here, not a huge fan of this because we don't even have a physical dial for the volume. Instead, we need to use this slider here, and it makes it just one extra complex step to just do something simple like this. If you want to go into the climate settings, you click this menu right here, and this is the climate menu. So you can see all the temperature here. You just use this slider here to boost the temp, of course, and the fan speed. You have that same situation here. You can put it in auto if you want to do that. I'm going to keep it in manual now, otherwise it's going to blow too much. And of course, these buttons where you want the air to blow out from specifically. So pretty straightforward, but yeah, it would be a lot easier to just have a physical control panel down here for the climate control settings. Not sure why all car companies, essentially, except for Mazda, doing a great job keeping it down here. But pretty much everyone else is just doing everything pixelated like this. And this is what the screen looks like when you have it in the map setting. And it looks pretty cool. You have this 3D vibe here. You can see a small little Mercedes sitting here on this soccer field. That is exactly where I'm at right now. You have 3D view or 2D view or 3D view. You can toggle between these two right there. Center the car if you want to do that. Heated seats. You can turn that on, as I said, in the door. So I'm not sure what this heated seat setting is in the infotainment screen exactly. Additional steering wheel heated. So heated steering wheel on and off is also one of these settings that's inside of all these menus. I'll just do this. Hey Mercedes.
I'm listening.
Turn on the heated steering wheel.
Switching on the steering wheel heating for you now.
Thank you, ma'am. So you can do that, or you can do this, go into this setting here. Just too complex to me. Just have a button here that says heated steering wheel and the controls for the climate settings down here. But if we go into the menu here, let's see. We go into home. We have a lot of apps inside of this. We have even more apps. If we click this, you even have Sudoku if you want to do that. Have some fun. Spotify, Shuffle Puck, not sure what that is, weather, and so on. You can see all the apps right here. So let's go back and check out what else we have. We have comfort, massaging seats for both the passenger and the driver. You can check out what sort of massage you want here. Ambient lighting, you can change that up. It goes all across right here. You can't really see it right now, but this is a small little LED strip that goes all around the dash, looking pretty beautiful at night. At night, Mercedes interiors looks very, very cozy. I have to give them that. And that is the infotainment screen here. We talked about the passenger screen already. Do I like this setup? No, I don't, because you can see all the glare and how many fingerprints are all over this. It's just like one big piece of, black plastic across the entire dash. It doesn't look classy. It doesn't feel Mercedes to me. I would much rather go back, but I'm sure you know that already because I've said it so many times before, just analog stuff. Drive modes located right here. Efficient, and this also comes, of course, with a specific off-road setting, which raises up the vehicle by about an inch, giving you 7 inches of ground clearance when you have it in off-road setting. You have efficient as well, comfort, sport, or you can set up your own individual setting if that's something you're interested in. Going into the 360 camera here, this camera is absolutely fantastic. I mean, Mercedes is one of these companies that does camera work the best. I mean, look at the resolution that we have here. It looks like a video of my car that I'm sitting in right now, and I can just toggle around and see exactly where the car is positioned. You have a bunch of different cameras here, top view with the front view here. You have the rear view, side on each side, of course. You can toggle around there. So beautifully done by Mercedes when it comes to the camera settings. If we click this button down here, you have some more safety systems. If you click this Mercedes front end down here, you can turn off some of these safety features to turn them back on and just configure it as you want. Hazard button in the middle, and of course the volume knobs right here on the side. This though, this is absolutely beautiful. This wood piece that we have in the middle, and when you close this up, it just looks stunning. It looks have almost like a boat or yacht inspired styling for this section, and I do like how this slides inwards like that. You have the wireless charging pad right here, 2 cup holders. You have a storage for your key here, a couple of USB-Cs as well. The Mercedes key feels very heavy and nice in your hand. It feels quality just by holding the key. You have some metal on the outside here, lock, unlock, and open the trunk, and that's pretty much it for the buttons right there. So I want to just keep it closed. It just looks a lot more clean like this. All the way back here, you have a split opening for the armrest, in addition to 2 more USBs, so 4 USB-Cs in total for the front passengers. Storage is not that big, but it's pretty standard for this type of size of vehicle. Now the seats here, proper bolstering on the side, and I actually really like this design of the seats because this has a very classic feel, like a classic 80s Mercedes style to it. If you look at old Mercedeses with a brown interior, these seats look pretty much like they used to look like back in the 80s. And as I said, you have sort of speakers inside of this. I'm not sure if the speakers are inside of the seats, but the seats themselves just vibrate when you play music. You can also have the LED sort of pulsate to the beat of the music. And this is of course the controls for the seat right here in typical Mercedes fashion, to have this small little seat design here, and that's how you adjust the seat itself. Now looking at the steering wheel, this is not my type of styling for the steering wheel here. A lot of gloss black plastic. I do like the center portion, but I 100% prefer the AMG steering wheel, which looks so much better than this. Even though it's pretty comfortable to use this steering wheel, not bad at all. You have the controls for the audio settings here and voice command, and you have the controls to configure the gauge cluster in the middle, and also the cruise control settings right here, in addition to some metal paddles on the back side here, and they feel pretty good with this 9-speed automatic. Let's just go back to the classic layout. I really don't want the off-road layout here, so I'm gonna go back into classic right there. And I'm not a huge fan of these buttons either. They're sort of slider buttons. It's not really proper buttons. I just want to have proper, tactile buttons here, and not these slider versions that we have. Looking up top, we talked about this. Slide this open. See that it opens the entire roof up, and let's keep it open for now. Let's bring some light in here. So I think that's all for the front end. Yes, of course, we do have, there's no question that we do have a proper glove box here as well. So with that said, let's jump in and check out the back seat, and let's see if I can fit behind my own driver position, being 6'1". You can see right here, beautiful still, the quality, this sturdy door handle that we have for this generation of Mercedes. It's not the most ergonomic door handle, I have to say. It's pretty big to just grab this thing and just close the door. You have the opening here, no heated or ventilated seats in the back. We don't even have a third zone for the climate controls here, which is something that I would expect to see in this price range for $82,000, $83,000. But jumping in here, and it's good to be back in a wagon. I mean, the space for my head is great, and I have plenty of space for my legs here as well. As you can see, no problems at all. We do have a couple of vents here and some storage, a couple of more USBs down there, if you can see that. And if we fall down, you gotta see this. Again, German engineered cup holders popping up. The first pop is just, I guess, a storage for your phones, and then if you pop it 2 times, like that. You can see that it pops up these very interesting looking cup holders here. Let's fold that back down and let's do what this car is all about. Let's take this beautiful 2024 E450 all-terrain for a drive. Alrighty, let's take the 2024 Mercedes E450 all-terrain in this beautiful wagon form. Let's take it for a drive. Of course, you do have tilting, telescoping, steering wheel, power assisted. Beautiful. I wouldn't expect anything else in this price range, to be honest. So 375 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torques from a 3-liter inline 6 with a 48-volt mild hybrid system. And what Mercedes pretty much always do well, I mean, that is what Mercedes is all about. It's just how this car drives and goes over these imperfections in the road. It's such a smooth ride, this thing. Thanks, of course, partly to the air suspension that we have going on here. But that is also something that would probably break at some point, and it's going to be a pretty expensive thing to repair, I would assume. So 0 to 60 in about 4.6 seconds. It definitely goes. That was uphill. It doesn't feel like 4.6 seconds. It actually feels slower than that. But that is the numbers that Mercedes is giving us. So let's put it into sport. We were in comfort there. So let's put it into sport here and use the paddles. Down to second gear. Now this is obviously not sports wagon, since it is lifted and you have all this plastic cladding on the sides. But just to have some fun with this 9-speed automatic, it shifts pretty good, pretty well, but it's not something that I would ever use myself. I would probably always have it in comfort and in automatic, because I feel like the Genesis, I just feel like comfort is its natural state to be in. And that is where you get the most benefits of what this Mercedes is supposed to be like. The seats are pretty comfortable here. I always go down here to, adjust the seats. I always keep forgetting that we're using these buttons on the side of the door here to adjust the seat settings. You do adjust the lumbar support by a couple of buttons here on the bottom of the lower section on the side, in addition to the massaging seats that you have here. Let me know what you think about the super screen. Are you a fan of this much screen real estate in the interior? To me, it's just insane. You can't really have any more screens than this. It's like a 14.4 inch infotainment screen in the middle, dual 12.3 inches for the passenger over there, and then you have the 12.3 inch gauge cluster for the driver. I think we have reached, I could be wrong, we might not have reached the peak of screens in interiors, because we can still have a head-up display. Thankfully, this one is not equipped with a head-up display, which honestly, to me, feels pretty refreshing. I don't like head-up displays in general. I just think it's an annoyance to have that in the middle. I always turn them off when I get press cards with head-up display. So let's come to a stop here. We gotta talk about the brake pedal in a second as well. So let's come to a stop. Put it into sport. No one behind us, no one in front of us. Let's go. And we're up to 60 there. So I don't know if that was 4.6 seconds. That was pretty flat, a little bit uphill maybe, little, ups and downs in this road right here. But as I said, it doesn't really feel like 4.6 seconds. It feels powerful enough. I'm not complaining about the power at all. But it definitely has this more luxurious power delivery, and it's not abrupt or harsh in any way. Now the brake pedal, like I'm pressing the brake right now, I'm probably 2 inches down with the brake pedal, and it's not doing anything the first 2 inches. When you press the pedal, it's one of the spongiest. Like I'm pressing the brake right now and nothing happens. I'm probably 1.5 inch pressed and nothing happens. You really have to press the brake pedal in a Mercedes, specifically in this one, in the E-Class, to get it to grip. And that is something that, it took a couple of minutes to just get used to. I thought the brake was just bad or something when I first driving this car, but that is just how Mercedes do their brakes, I guess. All right, so let's go back into comfort here, because sport to me honestly does not make sense in this. We can have comfort and off-road. Those are the two settings that kind of would make sense here. So let's go on to this on-ramp. Let's floor it in comfort. And we're up to 70 there, a little bit downhill. So the power is definitely there. I mean, 375 horsepower. You don't really need more than that in this specific vehicle, and 369 pound-feet of torque, in addition to this mild hybrid that helps you get off the line a little bit quicker. Now, just cruising along here, this is what Mercedes do the best. I mean, Autobahn machines, long-distance continental cruise missiles, that's what Mercedes is all about, and this one is no different. Even though we do have the winter tires on here, I do think the road noise is a bit enhanced with the winter tires on. It's more than I would like to hear in an E-Class. I think it's probably a lot quieter on 20s, and with summer tires, it's not something that really bothers me. And as I said, the fuel tank is huge. You get 430 miles of range on a full tank, which is fantastic. Let's put it into cruise control here. Driver assist ready, and I have it set right now. And it should, not sure if it has active lane keep assist. I don't think so. No, we don't have that here, at least not the way I have it set right now. We just have, I do think, adaptive cruise control, so it brakes if the car is in front of you, but you need to steer it yourself in the lane, which is totally fine to me. I still don't trust automatic lane assist cruise controls. It just doesn't feel right to me. I just think about glitches in computers all the time, and if a car would have a glitch and you're doing 70 on the highway, it's not something that I'm ready to trust just yet. Maybe in 5 years or so, but I still prefer to just manually steer the car. Doesn't matter if I have full autonomous driving. So overall, I mean, this Mercedes E450 all-terrain, first of all, great job at Mercedes taking a gamble and bringing this over here to the United States. I think it's a good idea. I really hope this will sell well, because I want to see more support for wagons, and specifically performance wagons and also off-road wagons like this. Because if you were in the market for a GLE, which I said before is one of the best looking SUVs, and I would probably still get the GLE just because it is a GLE over this one. Not sure, but probably because it looks so good. But for other companies that has sort of average looking SUVs, if they brought over some lifted wagons like this, I think there is a market for that, because I think there is a market for people who still want to have sort of a sporty driving or a sportier driving experience than a lifted SUV, but still want to have a little bit of off-road capabilities, which this type of package that's exactly what this does. So looking forward to seeing these on the road, hopefully in the future, more of them on the road, and thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.